Hello and welcome to the Lyman Wolf podcast. I am your host, Raceland, and I am joined by my co-host today,
Nate.
And on today's podcast, we are talking about our favorite comic book series. Now, we've each picked a comic book run that we really enjoyed, and we'll explain why we picked it. And then we'll discuss we're going to basically discuss these series. And now, Nate, I know this was your topic. What made you want to pick this topic?
I just like talking about comics that I like to learn what people think about them and try to get people interested in some stories that they haven't necessarily read.
So basically, this is going to be us as a trailer for the comics. Like, if you enjoyed what we discussed, go ahead and check them out, kind of things.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. All right, so since you picked the topic, I'm going to let you go first. What is the comic book series that you chose?
Fables by Vertigo Comics.
Okay.
And it is a comic book series that takes the old Grimm tales and brings them into a more modern day era and kind of also creates its own little multiverse of characters.
So when you're saying Fables, is this related to the Fable video game franchise?
No. So there is a video game franchise, or video game, A Wolf Among Us, but the Fable video game franchise is a separate entity.
Okay.
It is completely different.
Because I've never played either one, and when I hear Fable, I just assume it's that RPG Fable series.
Yeah, the video game for it is A Wolf Among Us, which follows the adventures of one of the main protagonists of the comics, Bigby Wolf.
Okay, so this is a comic book spin-off from the video game.
No, the video game was actually a spin-off from the comics.
Oh, gotcha. Now I'm all caught up.
Yeah. So the comics take place in, I believe, the Big Apple. Been a while. And they have their own little section of the city that they've formed their own inner city inside. Normal human beings can't really access it except on occasion by accident because magic keeps people away.
Okay.
But within their inner city, just a bunch of fables. You've got Snow White, Bigby Wolf, or the Big Bad Wolf, Pinocchio, Frankenstein, which I believe he's just a head in the comics. You've also got Prince Charming, Cinderella, stuff like that.
So, kind of explain, if for people like me who don't know anything about this franchise, what exactly how is the world? What is the lore behind the setup of the universe?
All right, so the setup is that all of the old tales, every story is real. They're all just different universes that we interpret as stories.
So when you say stories, you're talking about folk tales and folk stories and stuff like that.
Yes, but not just them. Any story is just another look into another universe.
So it's basically the theory of any changes to anything creates its own universe.
Sort of. It's kind of a connection that authors tap into other universes for the inspiration of their work. For this one in particular, a evil kind of started flooding its way into all of these worlds and started taking them over, forcing the old tales, the characters from the old tales, to flee their homes, eventually ending up in our world and living amongst us.
Okay.
So, for example, when all of them came over, they had to sign a treaty that kind of forgave all of the old crimes and sins because so many of them kind of had grievances against each other. So the only way for them to make peace was to just wipe the slate clean and act like it didn't really happen.
Yeah, that's weird.
For example, in that is Bigby Wolf, the Big Bad Wolf. He's depicted as the Big Bad Wolf. In almost every tale, there is a wolf.
Wait a minute. you've told me about Bigby Wolf. You've mentioned him so many times throughout our friendship. I never really realized Bigby Wolf was supposed to be like the folklore fairy tale big bad wolf. I had no idea.
Yes, he is the quintessential werewolf.
Now it's making sense why you picked it.
Yes, so his name even, Bigby Wolf, is Big Bad Wolf.
Yeah, I kind of pieced it together just now. I'm like, wow, I'm so dumb.
Well, yeah, it's just a great thing, like great story arc for him because, like I said, they all had to forgive the old sins and stuff. So that means all of the crimes he committed as the Big Bad Wolf were forgiven. And because he's able to shapeshift into a human, he can live amongst the rest of the normal fables. There are two separate locations for the fable community. There's the city fables, which all look, or for the most part, all look human and have some ability to turn humanoid.
So when you say fables, you're talking about like a group of like people?
Yes, fictional characters.
Okay.
They call themselves the fables. And then you have the farm. The farm is outside the city, away from prying eyes of human beings, and it holds the characters that aren't able to turn humanoid. For example, the three little pigs. And the three bears. All of them live on the farm because you can't really have talking bears walking around the streets of a city and a normal person seeing them not freak out.
That's already starting to sound like some segregation over here. Like,
it actually,
animals go over here, humans go over here.
There actually is a story arc that goes into that. I don't want to get too into the spoilers because I want to use this as a kind of way to inspire other people to go read those comics.
Right.
But there is a story arc where they address the issue of it not being fair that they're all basically the same mentally sound or sentient beings. They shouldn't be separated. But it also goes into the point of if you don't, you're going to create chaos. It's actually one of the rules of the fables to not expose yourself to the normals in that way.
So what happens if you expose yourself to the humans?
So, in the fables world, the more people that believe in your story or know your story, the stronger you become.
It's kind of like how in some lore, gods become more powerful based on who prays to them.
Yes. And the reason why Bigby Wolf is considered such a powerful character in their story is because he is the wolf in every story.
Okay, that makes sense. He's literally... is Bigby Wolf like supposed to be the wolf, like any big bad wolf in any type of story?
Yes, if the wolf is not specifically named in the stories of the old tales, it's Bigby Wolf.
Yeah, because when you hear Big Bad Wolf, you just think Red Riding Hood, usually.
Yeah. He is the Big Bad Wolf in Red Riding Hood, from the Three Little Pigs, from several other stories that just have the wolf as the bad guy.
Okay, that makes sense. That is pretty powerful, honestly.
Yeah, so he has numerous stories tied to him, which allows him to have the power of shapeshifting, or it doesn't really allow him because he has the innate ability to shapeshift. It just allows him to get stronger with that power.
Okay, that makes sense.
And it's just, the whole storyline is Bigby Wolf, all of them trying to find some way to take back the homelands, as they call them, or their worlds from the Dark Nemesis, the Empire. And it has a lot of depth and emotion to it. One of my favorite characters, Boy Blue, he blows, he's the horn. Yeah. And he's just one of the greatest innocent characters because he's heroic, he's valiant, he is loyal to almost everybody, and yet he has such like a depth of sadness to him that he does not let most people see.
Man, that sounds depressing.
It is, but it's also uplifting because he doesn't let that sadness conquer him. He has he makes several friends. One of them is another one of my favorites, Flycatcher.
Flycatcher? What are these names?
Well, they're all named after their stories. Flycatcher was named after he's the prince from The Princess and the Frog.
Oh. Yeah, I'm not as familiar with that story as some of the other ones.
Well, he's not like super powerful but he's just a really chill dude. If I had to describe him as like by using another character, I'd say he's the Shaggy of the group. He's just
he's the stoner pothead guy?
Yeah, he's the janitor of the main office in the city, and he just wants to chill with his friends, Pinocchio and Boy Blue. And he like wears this hat with frog eyes on it, like these giant anime like frog eyes.
Oh my god.
It looks hilarious, but he's such a
it's Froppy from My Hero Academy's Dream Man.
Yeah. And he's just so blasé about everything. He's just like, oh, whatever, man. Just don't harsh my buzz. It's okay.
Oh my god.
And Boy Blue just wants to play the blues. So Bigby Wolf, they combine a lot of things to this character that makes him one of my favorites. First off, obviously, werewolf.
Obviously.
Yeah. To the point where they even hint that he is not just the creator or he's not the big bad wolf in the stories, but he's also the creator of werewolves in our lore, in our world's lore. So, like, during the Great War, people would see a man-wolf, running across the battlefield. It's Bigby deciding to participate in the war.
I've never heard of this lore.
It just... they're saying, that's how the beginnings of werewolves started to form. Rumors started taking about wolfmen.
Oh.
And so he's
weird.
The origin of Wolfman. It's...
So would you say that Bigby Wolf would also get power from, like, the old school, Frankenstein and Wolfman lore and all that stuff, too?
Yes, because he is the original, he's the inspiration for that.
Wow.
To the point that he's even, though, like I said, there's Frankenstein's head is in this storyline, and he's in the office of the mayor. He's, I think, an advisor or something. He's very poetic and wise, so he gives a lot of advice. Him and Bigby met each other during the Great War.
That's
so
crazy.
They're old friends. Then you've got one of the flying monkeys from
Wizard of Oz.
He also works in the mayor's office. There's just a bunch of one of the characters is Snow White and her sister Rose Red. They go into a lot more depth. I don't think that's an actual... I've never heard of Rose Red outside of Fable.
I've never heard of that character ever.
Yeah, but it is good good world building and character development within the lore of the comics. Because Rose Red is the super hardcore party girl, while Snow White is more of the slightly no nonsense, focus on your job, get everything done.
You say that's Snow White?
Huh?
Did you say that's Snow White?
Yes.
Is it Snow White from the original, carefree, walking through the woods? Oopsie, I ran into some, witch and ate her apple. That doesn't...
No.
Doesn't sound like a
horrible description of Snow White.
I know it is, but I'm just saying, in the Disney version, she's always portrayed as, this carefree, I'm just going through life.
I want to know how you're getting carefree from
I don't know.
13-year-old girl running for her life from her stepmother who hired a huntsman to kill her. That's not carefree.
Long, long, long time since I've seen those. I thought the original Snow White in the Disney was She's just going through the woods.
No, she's going through the woods because the hunter let her go.
I don't even remember there being a hunter, to be honest.
Yeah, the evil queen hired the kingdom's huntsman to kill Snow White. Huntsman felt bad for killing such a pure heart and was like, nope, go. She runs through the woods, discovers the dwarves' home, sleeps there, dwarves discover, and whatnot.
Dude, maybe I need to rewatch that movie.
I think you do. But maybe we can watch that and review it.
I don't think so.
Probably not, no. But another one of the things I liked is Prince Charming. Prince Charming.
From every, Disney origin ever.
Yes, and that's how they explain it too. Is for the most part, he is the prince that has met every Disney princess.
That's so funny.
Except for Belle.
That's because she's not a Disney princess.
No, well, yes, she is.
No, not till the very end.
She's still considered a Disney princess, but what I mean is, Belle has Beast. Beast and Beauty are a thing in this universe.
Yeah, but come on, man. Like, is it Bigby Wolf a wolf? So, like, would that count as well?
Yeah. Easily.
Okay, I didn't know because he's Beast, not Wolf.
No, so... Oh, are you saying... You mean, does Bigby get power from the Beauty and the Beast?
That's what I meant.
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, in the Fables comic, there is Beauty and the Beast.
Okay.
They are characters.
They're separate.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're a married couple in the franchise.
Gotcha.
And Beast is humanoid, but he's cursed with whenever his wife gets angry at him, he becomes the Beast.
Oh, he hulks out.
Yeah. That is literally how it happens. He's like a gentle human until his wife gets angry at him. Then he becomes the Beast. And he's a pretty cool character. They don't really show him much until later on in the franchise, but he's a pretty cool character.
Okay.
Bigby, another one of the reasons I like him is he is a detective.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, he's the sheriff of the city because they wanted someone who could inspire fear and make sure people followed the rules.
This comic book sounds like it's hitting all of your check boxes. Like, you got wolf, werewolf, you got detective. All you need is a dude in a trench coat, and you're good.
Bigby Wolf wears a trench coat sometimes.
Of course he does.
Yeah. He's like an old noir detective character.
I can see why he's like your favorite character.
And it also hints I love old lore. I love old fantasy and all that. I love exploring other universes, and they explore a bunch of universes. They even make it to where the genres of books are characters. So you have the character romance and the character action, and they are the physical embodiment of what those genres are.
That's really weird.
It is. And that's another... I love weirdness in comics and stuff. So it hits, like you said, every checkpoint for me. Another one of the things I like with Prince Charming is that he is extremely charming. He is the ultimate player because he can charm you into pretty much doing anything. But he's actually a massive asshole and jerk.
That's on brand for Prince Charming.
The reason why he's the Prince Charming who has been with almost all of the princesses is because he keeps cheating on the princesses with the next princess.
Every time I hear Prince Charming now, I just think of the Prince Charming from like Frozen.
Okay.
Like the asshole guy who's like, I'm with you because you're useful.
Oh. Okay. I was
What's his name? Hans or something like that, or
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just automatically, I just immediately think that nowadays.
I could see that. And personality-wise, that is very close to early Prince Charming. Later, he does, another one of the things about this series, it does a lot of character development for almost all of the characters.
How long is this series?
I think there's like 150-something issues.
It's a long-ass series. When
I
you say,
used to
when you
own
say
all of the
issue-
volumes.
When you say issues, do you mean like the old school, like 20 pages
Yeah.
comic? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then they brought it out to a bunch of volumes. I own all of them except the first volume because I lent it to someone who never returned it back.
Now, question, I just now thought of this. Is there anywhere else people can read these besides having to buy physical copies?
Well, I can't think of where, like maybe Comixology.
Yeah,
My bad, have it.
that's a good one, because the one I'm going to talk about is on Comixology as well.
I'm not sure if it is. I would have to look it up, so
Okay.
I can look that up while we're doing the podcast, and at the end of it, I'll let y'all know.
Okay.
There's another character that actually got his own spin-off series, Jack.
Okay. From like
And-
Jack and the Beanstalk?
Yes, Jack and the Beanstalk is every Jack in any story that has a Jack.
So we're talking about Pirates of the Caribbean's going to have some power here.
Almost. Okay, so Jack is a mischievous character and a thorn in Bigby's side
It's sounding like Jack Sparrow.
because he breaks the rules. Like how
Jack Sparrow.
you're not supposed to like shell out your own stories and whatnot. He goes to Hollywood and makes his own stories into movies.
Modern day Jack Sparrow.
Everybody starts loving all of his movies, and he gets super powerful because he now has all these movies that are being watched by billions of people.
Telling you, all I picture is Jack Sparrow. Like every time you mention this dude, just picture
Honestly,
Jack
he
Sparrow.
looks more like a Brad Pitt kind of guy.
Brad Pitt could
Nothing
play.
like Jack the Sparrow. Jack
Brad
Sparrow.
Pitt could play Jack Sparrow if he wanted to.
Later on in his own spin-off series, I think his son takes over, which is Jack Frost.
Ha! Now just picture Santa Claus 3.
Now it's making me want to watch it. But yeah, he's Jack of the Tales, Jack the Giant Killer, Jack Bull, Jack O'Lantern, Jack of the Apes. He's just a character that you just add Jack into it, he becomes powerful. But he's also a bum. He is completely unreliable and somehow is related to like the literary. There's like an entire group of fiction, or not fiction, meta beings, kind of like Death is a meta being.
Okay.
These people are also meta beings. They're literary characters. So they are the archetypes of specific types of characters. So like hero, villain, stuff like that.
Huh.
Somehow, I don't remember, but Jack is somehow related to them.
This seems like a very complicated series.
It is. If you don't follow it strictly, or it can get very complicated because it does have a lot of twists and turns, but it's also really fun. And even if you don't really follow it, you can keep up with the general idea of what's going on, because the storylines are pretty much your everyday comic book kind of stuff, fights, intrigue, stuff like that.
So is it a violent series? Like if people So if people want to read like comics where it's really violent and lots of fights and stuff, this would be a good one for them.
Yeah, like the very first arc is a murder mystery that Bigby Wolf has to try to solve.
So it's more like a detective comic.
The first part is. Throughout the series, it hits a bunch of different types.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, so what kind of target audience do you think this would hit? So if you're if you're fans of blank, this would be great for you.
It's kind of hard because, like I said, it hits a lot of topics. Different arcs have different styles. Basically, if you are a fan of fairy tales,
Okay.
I would go for it. If you like more mature style of fairy tales, go for it. I will say that it turns a lot of things incredibly dark. For example, Pinocchio, like the ramifications of Pinocchio's story are terrifying and sad, because his whole wish was that he wants to be a real boy.
Is this going to be one of those you have to be specific with your words kind of thing?
Exactly.
Oh,
Because he
no.
becomes a real boy and stays that way
Oh, no.
while mentally growing as a person. So he is like hundreds of years old. He's still a little boy physically. So he can't, like, he'll go to a bar, try to pick up a girl, and she'll be like, no.
Get out of here, child.
Yeah. He has to specifically know the bartender just to get drinks. It is a horrible life that he lives, but he makes the best of it, I guess. Like, he does have friends and he does have a life, but it's still like that would be horrible to be stuck as want to say he's like either 10 or 13 years old. So one of the things that I liked about this franchise is it does have quite a few spin-offs, like I've mentioned. One of them being it turns Cinderella into like a Kim Possible kind of franchise.
She has a naked mole rat friend.
No, but she is like a spy. She's like Black Widow. They turn her into a badass agent that works for the fairy government.
The fairy government?
The fable government, like the fantasy. She works for the mayor of... Well, actually, I think she worked for Bigby because he ran all law enforcement.
I just picture when you said fairy government, I just pictured them being like like little pixies or like the police squad, and they go out and like take care of crime.
Well, there are fairies in this series, so I wouldn't be surprised if they do have something like that. One of the biggest bad guys in the franchise turns out to be the Sandman, which is the iteration of the Boogeyman. And the way they describe him is amazing. Overall, I say if you're a fan of this kind of thing, check it out. I promise you will not be disappointed. There will be laughs, tears, and you will be extremely sad when it's over, but extremely happy that you went on the journey.
Well, Nate, it does sound like an interesting series. I definitely need to check it out because I have not read any of those series. I know you talk about it all the time, so obviously it's probably pretty good. It is kind of interesting that you've been bringing up multi-dimensional comic book series because that kind of ties into what I picked. What I picked is a giant franchise, but what I'm going to be talking about is condensed into one saga because I'm just one specific run that had its own specific series. And
shortened it a bit.
Yeah, and that is the Power Rangers. I'm sure any 90s kid knows all about the Power Rangers. A lot of people probably don't know the Power Rangers have their own comic book series. I think it started in like 2016, I think, something like that.
Yeah, I watched Power Rangers when I was a kid. I did not know it had a comic book series until probably about 15 years later. So a little before I met you, but I also never read the comics either.
Yeah.
Because by that time I was kind of over the Power Rangers.
I was too, but the comic books came out and it kind of brought me back into it.
Yeah. After hearing you talk about it a few times, I was like, this actually does sound pretty cool. So, yeah.
So, the series I'm specifically talking about is the Power Rangers Shattered Dimensions.
Okay.
The reason why I picked this is because I've always had a love for the Power Rangers, obviously, as a kid. When they became an adult, learned they had comics, I just had to read them. And if you like the Power Rangers as a 90s, like the TV show, this is basically a more violent adult-style Power Rangers. It's going to be, death. It's going to be blood, violence. It's just...
So it took off the kid gloves.
Yeah, basically. So, about this series, the main thing is it's called Shattered Dimensions. So, obviously, we're going to be talking about multi-dimensional stuff.
Yeah.
And if you're not familiar with the original storyline of the Power Rangers, it's obviously the teenage kids become Rangers. They meet a new guy named Tommy, takes over as the leader of the Power Rangers, blah, 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 right? He becomes the Green Ranger, runs the show. But not in every dimension is Tommy a hero. Tommy in this dimension became the Green Ranger, but in the original series, he betrayed Rita after becoming brainwashed and broke free of her control and, stopped Rita, took over, everything great. Not in this version. No, 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 no. Tommy Oliver accepted the role as a permanent villain. He was like, you know what? I'm not brainwashed anymore, but this sounds awesome. I need power. I want to rule. And
Heroes are for losers.
Yeah, yeah. So he obviously in his universe he defeated the Rangers and his universe, and then gained more power to rule over everything, and he became someone named Lord Draken. And his Power Ranger suit is so awesome. It's got like spikes on the head. It's got spike pads. Just think of like a much more badass version of a combination of the Green and White Ranger, because he kind of
all I can imagine is like Anakin becoming Darth Vader.
Kinda.
Tommy has become Lord Dakin.
It kind of, yeah, he is kind of whiny sometimes. So, in this series, I'm not going to get into too much spoilers. I'm going to try to go as bare minimum because I want you guys to read this series if you're interested. But yeah. I got to explain a little bit of it.
Understand.
So, Lord Draken eventually went on to create his own Ranger Century, like his own little army.
Okay.
Draken was able to, one of the things he did, he was able to brainwash Kimberly. Do you remember Kimberly is the Pink Ranger from the original series? So this series run introduces one of my favorite Power Rangers of all time, named the Ranger Slayer. And she is the Kimberly of Lord Draken's universe.
So your favorite Power Ranger is a killer of Power Rangers?
No, I said she's one of.
Okay, one of your favorites is the killer of Power Rangers.
I'll get into it. Okay. She's not always evil. Anyways.
Okay.
She becomes one of the most Power Rangers ever existed. So across all the multiverse. She literally hunts down Rangers. That's her job. She's way more powerful than the normal Pink Ranger.
So continuing with the Star Wars, she's the Boba Fett of Lord Dakin's Darth Vader.
I guess, kinda. So yeah, Lord Draken uses her to hunt down the remaining Rangers, and then eventually uses her to hunt down Rangers in other dimensions.
Okay.
So the thing I really like about the series is every time Lord Draken defeats a Ranger, he takes their Morpher, and he uses the Morpher to build his army. So what I mean is that he, like, anytime he defeats one, he takes that Ranger's Morpher and he makes his own version of that. So he has now, like, say he defeats the Samurai Rangers. He takes their Morphers, and now he has Samurai Ranger army. He defeats Space Rangers. He now has Space Ranger army.
So he duplicates and then multiplies.
Kinda, yeah. And what I mean by that is like he I think it's that he's just recruiting people, and they just have the power of those Rangers.
Okay.
Yeah. Lord Draken starts using, to make his army even easier to defeat people, he starts using something called dragon cannons, which literally disconnects Rangers from the grid. So it's like you get hit by that, you immediately lose your powers.
So like Doctor Strange doing that spirit palm to Spider-Man.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of stuff happens where the Power Rangers have to fix that problem, but like it becomes a massive problem for the Rangers.
I could see that. That would suck.
Yeah. So it's revealed later on that while Draken is conquering the Rangers, his whole goal is to access to the morphing grid. The morphing grid, if you don't know, is basically like ran by a cosmic power. Kind of think like the morphing grid as the Speed Force in the Flash comics.
Okay.
So it's like its own power source of a god, kind of. It's ran by the original Rangers, which are the essence of who the Rangers are, kind of thing.
So like Shazam.
Sorta, kinda. I guess.
Powered by.
Yeah.
A council.
Yeah, kinda. Yeah. A lot of stuff happens, but like I said, I'm not gonna get into spoilers because I'm hoping you'll read the series. But a bunch of Rangers. There's a bunch of Ranger comics out there, so I'm hoping that people get more into this. One of the things that I love about this series so much is the fact that it literally pulls from every version of Power Rangers. So the Power Rangers TV shows have been on since the 90s, and they're still making more. And every like 5 or 6 years, they make a new version of Power Rangers to give new kids a version. And the comics, especially this series, tie every version in there. So like you got the Samurai Rangers, you got the Space Rangers, you got all the different versions have to team up to fight Draken. It is so awesome seeing like hundreds of Rangers fighting this century Ranger army.
I can see that, especially for like, it would definitely hit a nostalgia feel, especially if you have kids of your own, you're watching this or reading this to your kids or something like that. Being able to connect to them throughout a legacy of content.
Yeah, it's just, I love the Power Rangers so much as a kid, and learning the comics exist, and now I get to share them with my kid.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
I can see that.
Yeah, the series has so many different kinds of Rangers that it makes me kind of wish I could like dive deep into their lore. But most of the comics are just the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. They kind of stick to the OG Rangers. Like, I want an entire run of, like, the Samurai Rangers. Which there might be, I don't know, but I haven't seen them.
It's the perils of getting into a comic book franchise that has a multiverse.
Like, there's an entire series of Rangers on the TV shows. Because I have only watched the original Mighty Morphin. I didn't watch any of the spinoffs. That... They're called the Jungle Fury Rangers, and they all like Black Panther style Rangers. They all have like these jungle powers and stuff. Like I think the main Ranger is obviously the Red Ranger, but like they have a Black Ranger on their team who straight up looks like Black Panther, like almost identical.
Okay.
Yeah, there's just so many different types of Rangers. But I would say, if you love the original series, and you want to relive your childhood by reading some adult versions of them, give this comic series a chance. Like, they've got so many. They got Mighty Morphin. They've got Go-Go Power Rangers. They've even included the 2017 movie that was apparently a flop, which I don't agree with. I absolutely love that movie. That's even in this series. Like, they consider that an alternate universe. So yeah, I'd say go check these out. I know that they're all on what was it called? Cosmology or something?
Comixology.
That's it. They're all on there. So if you're subscribed to that, you can get all of the series for free.
I have tried looking to see if Fables is on there as well, but I have not been able... Oh, yes. Kindle and Comixology.
There you go. See, I've got all I've got a lot of the Power Rangers. I bought them on Kindle because I'm not subscribed to Comixology. Speaking of Power Rangers, it's kind of funny because the series, like I said, there's so many different versions of it out there. Mm-hmm. They've recently been doing Power Rangers versus Godzilla. I haven't read. I own it. I haven't read it yet, but it's just that doesn't seem like it goes together.
I mean, I could see that, especially considering Power Rangers already fight like giant monsters in their mech.
Yeah, but a lot of the comic books and even in the shows, it's the Rangers fighting hand-to-hand combat against villains. You can't exactly do that with Godzilla.
But you can in their Megazord.
I know, but is the entire series just going to be them getting in their Megazord and just fighting Godzilla?
Well, no, but not every Godzilla, or a lot of Godzilla movies have, like, the regular people running around fighting and doing whatnot, and then Godzilla doing his own thing in, like, grand battles as the main premise.
Yeah, kind of to expand, if you're interested in the comic book series, the Power Ranger comic books, they've got Power Rangers versus the Ninja Turtles. They got one that they did a crossover with DC, where they have to fight the Justice League, or actually sort of team up kind of thing. I know that they've got, if you're interested in the Ranger Slayer, like if you read this and you really like Ranger Slayer, she's got her own little mini series. It's like, I think it's like 6 or 7 comics or something all tied together, and it's literally her redemption story from what happens in this series. Like, they've got a bunch. Would you ever be consider reading some of these, Nate?
Yeah. I'm a sucker for multiverse, omniverse kind of stuff. Being able to see multiple versions of specific characters. And I do like the idea of a whiny Green Ranger and his Boba Fett sidekick running around killing off other Rangers. So that does sound appealing to me.
The Shattered Grid is pretty much the most popular run in the Power Ranger comics, to the point where it got its own fighting game, and it's a Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, which is one of my favorite fighting games of all time, where they make the entire story mode of that game like a version of the comic book series.
Okay. I think we played it once.
Yeah. I love that game.
It was cool. I learned a couple of new costumes. One of the things I like about the Power Rangers, or pretty much anything, is how costumes look and whatnot. And I think there was like a purple wolf character.
That is one of the Jungle Fury Rangers. I'm pretty sure that's who you're talking about.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
That's the one that looks like Black Panther.
Yeah, he looks like a Black Panther met Saints Row.
Yeah, he's basically a purplish Black Panther.
Yeah,
yeah. If you love the Power Rangers, I'd say check out the comic books, because they're definitely worth a read.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It sounds pretty interesting, and as a person who hasn't read them yet, I'm looking forward to trying to get my hands on them.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I guess if you got anything else you want to mention about your series, Nate?
Not really. Nope.
Well, I guess that'll be it for the podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you are interested in more content, you can check out my Linktree in the link here, which shows our other accounts. If you like this, please think about joining, liking, and subscribing. And if you're interested in talking about our upcoming topics, please join us on the Discord or our Facebook page. They're both in the Linktree link down below. And we'll hope to see you guys on the next podcast. We'll see you soon.